When a security guard or store employee steps in front of you at a retail exit and physically or verbally blocks you from leaving, almost every person does the same thing. They stop. They feel trapped. They feel accused. They feel like the guard has the authority to hold them there and there is nothing they can do except comply until the situation resolves on the store's terms. Here is what almost nobody knows. A private security guard blocking your exit without meeting a specific legal threshold is not exercising authority. They are committing a civil wrong. It has a specific legal name. It is called false imprisonment, and it does not require handcuffs or a locked door to apply. Any physical or verbal act that restrains a person against their will without legal justification qualifies. You are not required to stand there. You are not required to open your bag. You are not required to wait for a manager. You have the right to leave. And the exact words you say in that moment are what protect you while you exercise that right. Put the store's liability on the record before you walk out and make it impossible for anyone to later characterize your exit as flight from an accusation. Today, I am going to show you exactly what legal authority security guards actually have at a retail exit. What threshold has to be met before any detention becomes lawful? What false imprisonment means, and how close most exit detentions come to it? And the exact words you say the moment someone blocks your path. Words that are legally grounded, documented on camera, and walk you out the door without confrontation. Hit subscribe right now because this channel exists to give you the knowledge that protects you before you are ever in the moment where you need it. Share this with one person before this video ends. Someone who would stand at that exit for 20 minutes because they did not know they had something to say. Here is the reality most people are never taught. Private security guards at retail stores, malls, and commercial venues are employees of the retailer or a contracted security company. They are not law enforcement. In most states, they have no arrest power beyond what any private citizen possesses. Their authority to detain you exists within a narrow legal doctrine called the shopkeeper's privilege. The shopkeeper's privilege permits a retailer or their agent to briefly detain a person when they have reasonable grounds to believe that person has shoplifted. Every word in that standard matters. Reasonable grounds means specific, articulable facts connected to that specific individual and a specific suspected act of theft. Brief means a reasonable amount of time to investigate, not an indefinite wait. And the detention must be conducted in a reasonable manner. Without meeting that threshold, a security guard blocking your exit has no legal justification for the detention. The shopkeeper's privilege does not apply to everyone leaving the store. It does not apply because the guard wants to check receipts as a general policy. It does not apply because someone in a uniform decided you look suspicious. It requires specific, articulable facts about you specifically and a specific suspected theft. When that threshold has not been met, blocking your exit is false imprisonment. It is the unlawful restraint of a person against their will. Courts across the country have found retailers liable for false imprisonment when employees detain customers without meeting the shopkeeper's privilege standard. The liability is real, documented, and frequently results in significant civil damages. Knowing this changes everything about how you handle the moment someone blocks your path. Here's what the bad way looks like. Customer walks toward the exit after completing a purchase. Security guard steps forward and says you need to show your receipt before you leave. Customer stops, feels accused, opens the bag, finds the receipt, shows it, waits while the guard examines it, waits while the guard makes a mark on it, walks out 2 minutes later feeling humiliated and powerless. The customer had a receipt. They had done nothing wrong. They were never accused of theft, and they stood there because the uniform implied authority that did not legally exist in that context. Now here is a different version. Same customer, same guard, Same demand. Before the customer opens their bag or reaches for a receipt, they say this calmly and clearly. I have not been accused of theft. I am not required to show my receipt to a private security employee without cause. Please do not block my exit. I am leaving now. Then the customer walks toward the door at a normal pace, making brief eye contact with the guard, without rushing and without stopping. Those 4 sentences do everything that needs to be done in that moment. They state clearly that no theft accusation has been made, which directly addresses the only legal standard that could justify the detention. They invoke the absence of cause, which signals that you understand the shopkeeper's privilege threshold. They instruct the guard not to block the exit, which creates a documented verbal record before any physical blocking occurs. And they announce your intention to leave, which removes any suggestion that your exit is flight. You are not being confrontational. You are stating legal facts in a calm voice and exercising your right to leave a public-facing commercial space where no crime has occurred. Drop a comment right now and tell me, have you ever been stopped at a retail exit and stood there for longer than you wanted to because you did not know you could walk out? Tell me how long you waited. I want to see the numbers. If you are still here, hit the like button, because what comes next is the part most people get wrong, even after they know the words. What to do if the guard does not move, and what happens if they put their hands on you. Here's what you do if the guard does not step aside after you say those 4 sentences. First, you do not make physical contact. You do not push past. You do not touch the guard in any way. Physical contact in this situation creates a separate legal problem that works against you regardless of who was wrong first. You keep your hands visible and your voice calm. Second, you repeat the key sentence once more. I have not been accused of theft. I am not required to show my receipt without cause, and I am leaving now. Then you attempt to walk around the guard or through the space beside them at a normal pace. Third, if the guard physically grabs you, restrains you by touch, or closes off every possible exit path to prevent your movement, you say this loudly and clearly so that everyone in the area can hear it. I am being detained against my will. I have not been accused of theft. I am invoking my right to leave. I want a police officer present immediately. That statement, said at a volume that carries, does 3 things. It documents the detention publicly. It creates witnesses in real time, and it puts the guard and the store on notice that this situation is now a false imprisonment claim in progress, not just a receipt dispute. You still do not make physical contact. You wait. If police are called, that is a different situation, and one that actually benefits you here because you have done nothing wrong. You have documentation in the form of security footage and witnesses, and the officer arriving has to assess a situation where a customer with a receipt is being held against their will by a private guard with no specific theft accusation. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus is 38 years old, lives in Texas, and was leaving an electronics retailer after purchasing a laptop. He had his bag, his receipt inside the bag, and his car keys in his hand. A security guard at the exit said he needed to check the bag before Marcus could leave. Marcus stopped. He stood there for 4 minutes while the guard waited for a response, and Marcus tried to figure out what he was supposed to do. Eventually, Marcus opened the bag, produced the receipt, and left. He felt like he had been treated as a suspect for doing nothing wrong, and he had no idea whether he had been required to stop at all. His brother, who had some background in consumer law, heard the story and asked Marcus one question. Did the guard accuse you of stealing anything? No. Did the guard give any specific reason for stopping you? No. His brother told him that in the absence of a specific theft accusation or articulated reasonable grounds, Marcus had no legal obligation to stop, to open his bag, or to show his receipt. He had stood there for 4 minutes and complied with a request that had no legal basis to compel him. Marcus now knows the 4 sentences. After this video, so do you. Two legal foundations make everything in this video exact. The shopkeeper's privilege, recognized in most states and grounded in the Restatement Second of Torts, permits brief detention only when reasonable grounds specific to the individual exist. A general receipt-checking policy applied to all customers without specific suspicion does not meet this standard. The privilege is narrow and specific. It was not designed to authorize blanket exit stops. False imprisonment is the unlawful restraint of a person against their will. It does not require physical contact. A verbal demand to stop, combined with a physical presence that prevents movement, can constitute false imprisonment if the person reasonably believed they could not leave. Retailers have faced civil liability for false imprisonment when employees detained customers without meeting the shopkeeper's privilege threshold. The words you say before walking out put the absence of legal justification on the record before the detention has a chance to reach that threshold. Here is the complete recap. Private security at retail exits has no general authority to stop and search every customer. The shopkeeper's privilege requires specific, articulable, reasonable grounds tied to a specific individual and a specific suspected theft. Without that threshold, blocking your exit is legally false imprisonment. The moment someone blocks your path at a retail exit, you say this: "I have not been accused of theft. I am not required to show my receipt to a private security employee without cause. Please do not block my exit. I am leaving now." Then you walk toward the door at a normal pace, hands visible, calm voice, without stopping. If the guard does not step aside, you repeat the key sentence and attempt to move around them without physical contact. If you are physically restrained, you say loudly that you are being detained against your will, that you have not been accused of theft, and that you want a police officer present immediately. Think about one person in your life right now. Someone who has stood at that exit, bag open, receipt in hand, feeling like a suspect for completing a purchase. Share this video with them today, not later, right now. The 4 sentences you just learned take 10 seconds to say, and they walk you out of an exit detention that had no legal basis to hold you in the first place. Next week, I am covering what happens when a debt collector calls and uses pressure phrases that are illegal under federal law. That video covers exactly what collectors can and cannot say, what your validation rights are, and the one letter that stops all contact permanently under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Subscribe so you catch it the day it drops. Hit the like button if those 4 sentences just changed how you will handle the next time someone in a uniform tries to hold you at a retail exit without a reason. Drop a comment telling me how long you have stood at an exit when you did not have to. I read every single comment. Know your rights. Use them. Stay safe.